Everyone, welcome back to the workshop. We're down in the basement. I'm working with the Roly Automation Lasermatic, and one of the things that I want to do is they have this focus tool. However, I don't want to lose it. I want to keep it handy with the laser, and so I am going to use this opportunity to show you just a little bit of 3D design for the 3D printer that we recently looked at. And what I'm going to do is make a tool holder for this. We're going to make it so it can stick on the side here. We'll be able to slide it down there, and while we're at it, we might as well throw in a little holder for the USB drive as well to keep these things all organized and together. So if you're interested in that, want to find out more, stay tuned. We're going to jump right into it. All right, we're just jumping over here to the workbench real quick so that we can take some measurements. So one tool that I recommend everybody gets with laser engraving is digital calipers such as this. Even if you're not designing 3D materials, this is great for measuring, getting an accurate measurement of the thickness of your materials that you're cutting on your laser. So I'll have a link down to this one. This is really nice. It's steel, not plastic, so that's a little more accurate. And then it has both you can switch between inches as well as inches in fractions as well as metric. So it makes it very easy when making conversions between those different formats. Let's jump down here, take a look at our parts, get some measurements for our design. All right, so we want to take some measurements on these two items to get our overall design. And I'm going to start with the focus tool. So we're going to want to get the width of it. And it looks like it's coming in at about 0.98 inches. So I'm going to go with 0.985 for the width. And we'll decide, you know, we're probably going to want a little bit of variance on that just so that it's not too tight. And then we're going to want to know how thick it is. So we're looking at 0.315 for that. 0.315 for the depth. And I really want this to just kind of slide in, and probably only, let's see here, we're going to say, I'm going to go with 0.95. That'll give us, it'll get us down into here, but not so deep that we can't grab it very easily. So our height, I'm going to say 0.95. So that is the one piece. Now we got to take a look at our USB drive. So once again, we're going to get the width, and we're looking at 0.48. So I'm going to go 0.45 for the width. And then our depth, we're looking at 0.18. And here again, we only want to bring it down so far. I want to be able to slide it in. So I'm going to say, yeah, probably about 0.6 in our depth. And that will give us kind of the two pockets we need. And then I'm just going to use the grid here on the table. So each of these are an inch, and I'm going to have a little bit of a border and some distance there. So 3 inches might be much. So let's go 2 3/4 inches for the overall width of the item. And with our depth of 0.95, I'm going to go 1.2 inches tall for the overall box. So with those measurements in hand, we should be able to jump over to the computer and do some design. So here we are in Tinkercad. If you're first time here, you're going to have to go through and just set up a basic account. This is by Autodesk, and this is also child friendly. So it's pretty safe to sign up for an account here. It is free, and they're not going to inundate you with a bunch of ads and whatnot. So it's kind of a nice one to play around with and just get started. All right, so you're going to notice up here, it gives it a funky name, a funky Wilhelmo. That is just a default one. Now, you want to keep track of your designs. You can go ahead and change this. So I'm going to go Lasermatic tool holder. There we go. That way, when we jump back in here, we can find it easily. The workspace appears in front of you. Now there are the view sections here that you can click on this box and change your view around, or you can right click and hold, drag, and kind of just pan and mouse around that way. You can go to the top, or you can go kind of this 3/4 front view. it'll be kind of a little important to look at things. There's some other tools bars here, basic tools of unite, ungroup, and then alignment tools, reverse mirror things. So we'll play around with some of these in a bit. And then of course, some of your profile and one of their other tools up there. Over here, we have basic shapes. So these are some of the things we can import in and then manipulate and combine together. So again, we'll be dropping those. But one I want you to maybe look at first is down here is your settings button. It doesn't stick out very well, so you might miss it, but you want to go ahead and click on this. And you are going to want to check your units. So if you're in the US and you're a stubborn person like me, you may be wanting to switch that to inches versus millimeters. Just depends on what you're used to designing in or what you originally measured your items in. So go ahead and switch that around. Presets we don't need to worry about, but they do have some tools. So like the Ultimaker, MakerBot, some Dremel things. So if you have one of those 3D printers and such, you may want to like play around with that because that'll adjust your work plane and such. Otherwise, we could manually adjust our work plane here as well. But primarily, I wanted to make sure our units were where we're at, and we'll just go ahead and close that. All right, so now that we've got kind of our layout ready to go, we've got our name in here. What I want to do is just go ahead and start modeling. So we are going to be working basically with some cubes, and we're going to grab the box tool. We'll just drop one in here. Now you can just manually adjust these from the various boxes. And if you're just trying to visualize how you think it should be, you can do that way, but we can also put in actual measurements over here. So, so the width is going to be side to side, length, front to back, height, top to bottom. And so let's just start with the length. That's going to be front to back. We know that our thicker tool is about 0.315 is the depth. So I'm just going to go about 0.6. That'll give us a little bit of wall space front and back. So there is our depth. Width, I want to leave a little bit of room side to side because you got to get your fingers around it. So I'm going to go about 2 3/4 inches on this one. And then height, again, it only needs to be big enough so that this focus tool can drop into it. We're going to be dropping in about just under an inch. So I'm going to go 1.2 inches. That'll give us a bit of a 1/4 inch base at best on bottom. And there you go. We have the start of our object here that we can start dropping in our holes. So to create the pockets, we're actually going to create the additional objects. So I'm going to grab this hollow box kind of shape. We're going to click one in here and we're going to start with the focus tool. So I said that was 0.315. So I'm going to go ahead and make this just a hair bigger. I don't need this to be friction fit. I want it to be able to slide in and out fairly easily. So I'm just going to go 0.32. Our width again was 0.95. So 1 inch is actually pretty good. And our depth, again, I was going to go 0.95 just so that it's not, I don't want it to go too deep on this bottom part. So there we have our shape and in the right dimensions. And now we need to get these lined up. So we can just grab any face and drag it around. So I'm going to reference off this back face. And I'm just going to simply bring it into the object to where it lines up on this face. And we'll start there, but that's obviously not where we want it. I'm going to select both objects, and now we can use up here our alignment tool. So I want to bring it to the top. So we click on this button up here, and I also want to align it in the center of this face here. So that aligned it this way and also brought it up to the top. And now we need to bring it in. So here we can bring this around. Now we can just click on just this object. You gotta, there we go. Click on that one and we're going to drag it in that way. Now you see down here, it's giving us measurements of how far it's moving it in. And it's saying 1/8 of an inch, but it also moved it over 0.035. So we want to zero that out. And we want this at 0.125. So that's going to give us roughly 1/8 of an inch all the way around each one of those. So I'm good with that. And just visually looking at it, I'm okay with that. If you wanted to bump it in even more, come back and select it, and we could, once again, you can manually move it, but here we're gonna zero that out, and I want to bring it in just another 0.06, just to kind of make it look a little more even. We don't need it quite so narrow on that wall, but I'm pretty happy with that. Now, these are just two separate shapes, but if we, again, select both of them together, and we use this group, it's actually going to bring them together, and that just created our pocket. So it kind of does like a union tool or a Boolean join on these two, and that's going to work out pretty well. So next we want to drop in the USB pocket. So again, we've got our measurements there, and I'm going to go ahead and draw another box. All right, so we want to adjust the dimensions of this. So here we are going to go with 0.18 for our length. That's going to make that the front to back thickness. Our width is just under half an inch, so I'm going to go 0.5. And then our height, I don't want this to be buried, so I'm just going to go just over half an inch. So I'm going to go 0.6. And there we have the pocket for the USB drive. So once again, I'm going to grab this. I'm going to bring it over onto this face. Now I'm going to select both of these, hit our alignment. I'm going to center it. I'm going to bring it up to the top. And then I will move this in a little, kind of visually looking at how far I think I need it. I think half inch. You probably don't need to go 3/8 looks good, but I want it to stay centered. So I'm going to zero that out. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So once again, I'm going to select both of them, group them, and there we have it. We have the basic box shape. We've got the two pockets. It's looking good. I am happy with that. And so we can easily just export this, click the export button up here. And for 3D printing, we're going to go ahead and do STL. That will drop it into our downloads, and we can drop it into the slicer, send it off to the 3D printer. All right, so I've opened up the Bambu slicer on the desktop here. And the nice thing is we're just going to drag from our downloads folder. We're going to drop the file in. And here you can see our shape has come in. I am running the AMS, so we have the multiple filaments in here. So we are going to print this out. Yeah, I think we'll stick with the gray because the case of the Lasermatic is silver. Otherwise, I could change the filament if we wanted to. On here, we would just come down to change filament, and we could select any of the ones that are on there. So if I selected red, it would do it that way. But we're gonna go with the gray. That'll help it blend in, not stick out so much. The nice thing about this, we don't really have to do any fancy features. We're gonna hit slice plate. It's gonna tell us if there's any errors there. It doesn't look to be any. We can kind of preview the print here, so you see it's going to do our base layers, then it's going to do the infill pattern, and then you'll see the one pocket start to form, and then the second pocket start to form, and then it'll top it off. So once we're happy with all this, all I need to do is hit the print plate. Gives us a nice little preview. It's going to take about 35 minutes to do this and use 13 grams of filament. I can turn on or off any of these features. We're going to go ahead and hit the time lapse so you get to see that. And I'll send this off, and we'll check it out once it's done printing. All right, so we have our part printed out. Came out very well. The Bambu printers, like I've mentioned in my other videos, I'm very impressed. It's very simple. Drop it in using their filament and such. It's coming out. I mean, I don't know if that's coming through, but the layer lines are almost non-existent. Very smooth. A little bit of a texture on the bottom part, and of course, our top fit pretty well. And of course, let's check our tolerances. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going for a friction fit with the USB drive, and that actually works pretty well. It's in there, it's not gonna fall out. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort to slide it in and out, so I think that's perfect. The focus tool, I didn't want to be too friction fit because you wanna be able to grab it fairly easily. And so this one, if I turn it upside down, it will fall out, but it is just snug enough that it should fit in there fairly well. So I'm pretty happy with how this came out. Let's go ahead and get it stuck onto the laser and make sure it's gonna fit over there. All right, so we're on the side of the Lasermatic here, and I'm figuring I'm gonna just kind of stick it down in this corner here, but let's just kind of slide this in there to see. Yeah, I mean, the lid itself just opens up on front, so it's okay if it overhangs there, but this should stay out of the way, and then I should be able to grab that fairly simple. So we're gonna wanna put this with maybe, I don't know, about a 1/4 inch on bottom there. I'm gonna be sticking onto the side with this really heavy duty 3M tape. This is it's fairly permanent. It's actually okay for outdoor use, so we're gonna wanna be pretty sure when we drop this on there. So I am going to cut a piece of this tape and stick this on there. Very sticky. So get this started, there we go. There. Fairly sticky stuff now. We're gonna try to get this lined up where we want it. Try to get it level, and then stick that on. And now that's really not going anywhere. So drop that in there, drop our USB drive in there. That pops out without any problem, and that's easy to grab. All right, so if I was gonna be focusing material, I'd be able to grab my focus tool, adjust it really quick, and then drop it back into place. All right, so we've got a tool holder for the focus tool as well as USB. I don't have to worry about losing those anymore, and hopefully this was a glimpse into a very simple software that is free, available to you to get started in 3D designing for your printer. I know this is a very basic project, but that's how we learn, starting out with very simple shapes, very simple projects to have some quick wins, learn the software. From there you can develop on. And yes, Tinkercad you would outgrow fairly quickly, although it can do some fairly complex things. This is a nice way to get started. So if you've been thinking about 3D printing and adding it to your laser, hopefully this was just a very brief primer into how you can get started at low cost with simple software. If you have any questions about that or anything else you saw in this video, go ahead and leave a comment down below, or let me know how you think you may be able to use that tool to design either for the 3D printer or as well as a laser. We'll always love to hear from the community, and if you have tips for other people, go ahead and leave those as well. I have links down to everything that we used in this video, so you can quickly find those, as well as links to this laser, the 3D printer. If you're interested in one of those, I do have videos on each of them, and anytime you use those links, it does give a little kickback to me at no extra cost to you, and lets companies know that you found my information helpful, and that just helps my channel out, continuing to be able to buy the supplies and things to be able to do more instructional videos like this. So I hope this has given you a little inspiration to dip your toe into 3D modeling, maybe try 3D printing, and I hope you can find some success with it. But we will be around with more of this in the future, so stay tuned. But I hope you can get out to your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you next time.